all know that one person, the person who brags too much, or maybe they break too many rules, or maybe they're too cocky. The impulsive overachiever that would complain to anyone who would listen that they shouldn't have gotten anything less than an A on their last assignment. The person who fits the textbook definition of obnoxious. Now, I became very interested in this type of person, and so I did some research. I did a little bit of digging on obnoxious people. And pretty much I conducted this research to find out what the most common personality traits of obnoxious people actually are. And these were the most common traits that I found. Now, these were sort of expected, right? High energy levels, impatient, cocky. They were pretty obvious. Now that I knew this about obnoxious people, I wanted to provide a stark contrast. And so I dug a little more and did some research on the most common personality traits of highly successful entrepreneurs and business people. And these were the most common traits that I found. Because of this shocking overlap in results, I really was motivated to reflect on my life up until this point. And believe it or not, I have resembled each and every one of these characteristics at one point or the other. And the earliest memory I can think of is when I was 3. So that was me. I had maybe 5 people in my household at the time. We were living in Miami. And when I was bored, I would run around trying to get everybody to give me their money. Basically, I would offer to polish their shoes or shine the wood on their dressers, paint poorly executed portraits of them, or even try to sell them the fake food from my toy kitchen. Now, this might have been very obnoxious, but I had a pretty full piggy bank for a 3-year-old. And what all of this says is that maybe it wasn't necessarily my skill or the quality of my work that got my family members to give me their money, but it was the fact that I wouldn't shut up about their money. See, I set a goal for myself when I was 3. And I stopped at nothing to achieve that goal. And that's what I learned from that moment. Fast forward to freshman year of high school. Picture this: a girl who had a blazer for every different day of the week. The girl who sat front row in every class and raised her hand even when she didn't necessarily know the answer. The girl who played 4 different sports, 2 different instruments, and somehow managed to juggle 3 other extracurriculars all at once. That was me. My goal at the time was to be the best student that I possibly could. That was where I was at that point in my life. I wanted to be a good student, a well-rounded student. We all have that image of what a good student is, and I wanted to resemble that. So when it came time for my class to vote for their next president, I was the first person to sign up. In fact, I was the only person to sign up. I was running for freshman class president unopposed. Now, normally at this stage, people would feel, a sense of relief. They'd say, wow, this is great. I don't actually have to run against anybody and run a full campaign. Not me. No, I wanted everyone to know that I was going to be their next class president. So I ran a full campaign. I plastered at least 30 posters across my 4-story high school building. I made hundreds of bracelets, hundreds of stickers. Mind you, my class was only 130 people. I got my group of friends at the time to wear homemade t-shirts saying, "Vote for Keiana." We left glitter on the staircase in my school, and I'm pretty sure it's still there today. That was me. I was pretty obnoxious. But what I learned from all of this is that you can't let that define you, and you can't let others judge you for it. See, my behavior when I was a freshman in high school led my peers to believe that I was high maintenance, that I was too formal, or obnoxious, if you will, to hang out with them. So instead, I ended up hanging out with my teachers. I spent a lot of time with them. I grew close to them. Many of them became my friends. They became my mentors. They became my support system. As you can imagine, befriending my teachers only separated me even more from my classmates. What ended up happening was by my sophomore year, I was completely isolated from them. To them, I was different, I was isolated, and I was obnoxious. To me, I was pursuing a goal, and I was not going to stop at anything to achieve that goal, not even the subconscious criticism from my classmates. And where did this get me? In 2015, I decided that I wanted to drop everything. My goal shifted from being the perfect student to being a scientist. That summer, the summer after my sophomore year, I spent 2 or 3 months in a lab at the University of New Orleans, which was the local university closest to my high school. And I conducted chemical research there. I didn't think much of it at the time. It was a paying job, and I wanted money. It was fun, and when I got back to school, I told my biology teacher about it. I wanted brownie points. She ended up telling me to enter this research in the local science fair. So I said, all right, I mean, what harm can it really do? I'll do it. I'll be completely honest, I didn't put much effort into preparing for this science fair. I remember my actual 3-ply board had been printed half green and half blue because the printer I used ran out of toner. So I was there at the fair apologizing to the judges for my ugly board. I ended up winning the whole thing. That's the picture farthest to the left. At the same time, I also got my first job as a front-end coding developer with Microsoft. So I was juggling those two things. I kind of wanted to continue pursuing my research, so I took it to the state level. That's the picture in the middle. I won nothing at state, completely nothing. But the local fair had already sent me to the international fair, so I was kind of safe from that. I had immunity even though I won a nothing at state. So I went on, I took my project to internationals, and I'm thinking, all right, there's no way I'm going to win anything because I was completely steamrolled over at the state science fair. So, I really don't deserve an award at this point. I put a little more effort into my board, though. It wasn't green and blue, it was just blue. So I'm sitting there in the audience for the final award ceremony. Now, there are 2,700 students there from all over the world. They had all won. They came out on top of either their local or their state fairs. Incredible people. And so I'm sitting in the audience, and they get to second place, and they say, and second place winners will have a minor planet named after them by NASA. And I'm thinking, wow, they're so lucky, these geniuses, incredible. And I start to kind of sink in my chair, and I'm scrolling through Facebook, because I'm kind of feeling bad about myself at that point. And then they call my name. And that was a real turning point for me. In 2016, I ended up continuing my research, this time not at the local university, but at Tulane University. It's a little step up from Tulane, but basically Basically, they had more lab resources that I need. So I switched from chemical research to biological research. Basically, I identified a problem, and now I wanted to show that this problem actually exists. So I conducted research at that lab, ended up doing a summer with the Smithsonian Tropical Research Institute in Panama, and then took all of those results and went to MIT. What I found was that in the process of submitting my scientific papers for review, it was a very long process and very drawn out. So I thought that I could use entrepreneurship as a route instead to kind of raise awareness about the issues that I wanted people to really know about. So I took that to the MIT Global Entrepreneurship Bootcamp, and the molecule that you see on the bottom is the molecule that I invented while I was there. People from Chevron actually picked up on this and offered $1.2 million in funding for me to continue this research. They pretty much came up to me and they said, "We don't want you to talk to any other oil company. You're coming with us." So I said, okay. And I took that money, and I'm using it now at the University of Michigan to continue that research. In that same year, I was also recognized by Forbes, and I'm very grateful. And I was also featured on MTV very recently. But what I took away from all of this is that I might have sacrificed certain relationships with peers that ended up judging me, regardless of my personality traits or the fact that I was obnoxious. But in turn, I have achieved every single one of the goals that I set for myself. So now I want to challenge all of you. I have compiled the steps to being obnoxious because I believe that this is truly the key to finding success and reaching your goals. And so the first step is to actually set a goal. Set a goal that utilizes skill sets that you could see yourself becoming the best at. The best in your city, the best in your town, maybe the best in the world. And the second step, this is the step that I have followed religiously ever since I was 3 years old and begging my parents and my family members for their money. This is probably the most important step. And if you take nothing else from this talk, I want you to remember this. Forget what everybody else thinks about you while you are in the process of pursuing your goals. Life is just a string of right nows, a very long string of right nows. And whether you realize it or not, you are constantly making split decisions. And these decisions will determine whether you are one step closer or one step farther away from your goals. The next step is to share your goals. Share them with anybody that will listen. Annoy them to the point where as soon as they see your face, they want to run away from you because they know that you're going to try to talk about your goals again. And the last step is to follow through. And I can guarantee you that if you follow through with all of these steps, especially the second step, then you will have truly unlocked the power of being obnoxious. Thank you.